Hello everyone, Art of Wisdom speaking. Today we're continuing our sessions about creating a kick device in Maxforlive. A few things that I've noticed in last session that I wanted to work on and improve, and as well we're going to be continuing to work on the graphical interface. And yeah, without further ado, let's get on to it. We're also going to tune a bit, tweak a bit the graphical interface of the envelopes. Background color, probably put that in invisible, we'll see later what for. And the color, I usually use this kind of yellow. Same for the grid, though the grid would be with a lower opacity. And I'll see if I need the grid. Yeah, the legend don't need that these values that display here in white, I don't need them, they don't mean anything, and I display my own information, so I'm gonna remove them so we have a bit more space for the envelopes. I don't need a grid on this one. On this one I've put a grid every 10%, why not? Now we need to make sure that my all this data is not lost when I remove the device and if I save my project. So how do you do that? If you go to an object parameters, you see here that you have the parameter mode enable, which means that it's going to be exposed and stored. Okay, it allows you to store it. So I'm going to check all the things that I want to store. So we have this, and these two pitches. The rest is determined at execution range. So main, yeah, visible to mapping. Yeah, maybe I need to do that by object types, like so. And as you see on the bottom here, parameter visibility stored only. It means that this function is stored with the device inside my project. Of course, it's not something that you can automate. The point can't be automated, though it could be feasible through external stuff, but that's not the purpose today. All right, and so these are automated and stored, and so same for these two ones. So normally my device is able to recover the previous values at load. Still, there is an element that sometimes annoys me. Even though these values are stored and reloaded, it doesn't mean that they are actually sent out at load. So I may have this value when I load the device, but with no data sent to the external one. And of course, it would be a mess because all this would not work. So the key thing for that is a message which is called load bang, which actually does what the name is. When the device is loaded, it's going to output a bang. So if I connect this one here and I look at live numbox help, bang actually sends the current value to the outlet. So I'm going to force the device to trigger these three values whenever I load the project or the device if I drag it from the browser. That was exactly my point. Now we can add these two envelopes to the presentation. Right click, add to presentation. And we're gonna put them, yeah, will change. There are some things that will change later, but not for now. So let's say that the amplitude, the pitch envelope will be there, and the amp envelope will be there. I need to keep space for the name. And to make sure that it fits exactly at center. Brute force. I think they are not the same widths. It's a bit annoying. Let's make sure that, okay. Yeah, they overlap. Okay. So this and this are connected, or at least have a relationship. So I'm going to put this like so. Of course, max should be on top, representing the maximum pitch value, and this at the bottom, representing the minimum value. All lengths can stay here because it's different. I can remove that and save. So now if I close my device and get back to live, I have something which is okay-ish. Just remove this one. But you see, I can't see my knobs. And there's something wrong. I may have messed up with my functions. Let's check it out. So this one is the amplitude, and this one is the pitch. No big deal. And I've lost my knobs. Why did I lose my knobs? It's because I forgot to do one thing. So I'm gonna add them again. See, they're still there, but it can't find them. Some of the annoyances of Max. I'm gonna do one thing which is necessary whenever you want to share your device to a third party with some graphical elements which you have brought inside the device, such as the background or these knobs. You need to actually freeze the device, and when you freeze the device, it's going to be pretty similar to collect all and save in live. So it's going to copy everything which is needed for the device to work and make sure that they are stored within the device file. So now I can save, and now I have my knobs, as you can see. this thing is calling for a background. I'm gonna use an external file which I use on my devices. I found this one on Unsplash, so I just drag it to the device, add it to the presentation, and there are two things I want to do. The first thing is make sure it's gonna be top left of the presentation, so 0, 0 on the presentation, and that it doesn't have fixed aspect ratio, because now the only thing I can do is rescale it like so. What I want to do is rescale it as I want and change its shape if needed to match the device width. So I can do that. Of course, this thing is now on top of the rest, so I'm gonna put it in the background. So there is a special tick to put an object in the background, and so now you see that all the rest is in front of this this object. Maybe I should put some outline around this thing, and yeah, need to lower them a bit. And I forgot a few things. There's two values which I actually want to display. I'm going to change them because I don't want them to have a background. So opacity is 0, the background is invisible. The color is okay. No, as they are just there for display. So text color would be normally yellow. And there is some border which I want to remove. Control border, none. And now I need to find them. Oh, they are not on the presentation mainly, well, most likely. Add to the presentation. And I may need to do the same kind of thing, by the way. Yeah. So I'm gonna put this one behind. So it's behind these ones, but it's not behind the background. So it's a bit difficult to understand at some point. So now I can do that. Perfect. Just the type of information I was missing. I'm going to do the same for the amplitude. It might be interesting as well. So the exact same trick can be reused. Copy that, back, and send the first one here and grab the value there. But what we want here is a level, so most likely as a percentage. So this is between 0 and 1, but I want something between 0 and 100%. So I'm gonna multiply that value by 100 with a point, because I want to have a floating point output. This will get there, and from there to here. And now this is displayed as a percentage, and it goes from 0 to 100. Do I need to have 2 digits? No. So there's a trick for that. Took me a bit of time to understand how it worked. But instead of using a percentage as a display, I'm going to use a custom value, and I'm going to tell live Max how it should display. So it's a bit complex. That's %0. So it means that there is one digit before. 0, which means that I don't need any decimal number. And F as it's a floating point. And with a % afterward, which is going to be displayed. Yeah, is that it? Let's check that it works. Nothing, no data. Doesn't output what I want. Yeah, I need to activate the same option. Output mouse information. Yeah. Yeah. So we have now both the percentage and the pitch. Like so. Nice. Again, freezing. It's not necessary as I've done it initially, so it has already collected stuff, but it's a good habit that you should take, because you never know if you have added some external element and next time you open the project you have to find it again, so it's a bit annoying. So now if I close the device, you see that I have my display working, but I have something here which is not what I want, because I haven't actually set the device width. Let's open the device again, unfreeze it. I've also noticed that my graphic background is not actually covering, so it should be 170, which is the height of any Max device, to make sure I'm covering the full range. And there is a point here which means that there is something which is above the maximum. Yeah, just 1 pixel. But that's enough to annoy us. And this one is again 0, 0, like so. So now we want to change the actual width, and we want it to stop there. So I'm going to go into View, Set Device Width, and now if I resize, no. Let's try again. Set device width. It's a bit complex sometimes, but now you see this rectangle which represents the size, the width that Max is gonna present to life when loading the device. And I can drag this wherever I want. So I'm gonna go right here, save, freeze again, and now my device has the exact width that I want. Good. Okay. So first thing, which I probably will be doing later on, is that I've tried to freeze the output of the device on this pattern, on this clip, and I've noticed that the exported values actually are not perfectly in sync, and as well they're not exactly identical. So you see this one, it has a tiny bit of something which resembles a pre-ringing, but shouldn't be this. And next one is pretty different, even though normally we are restarting the kick each time and all the phases. So we're going to be working on that a bit later on, and see if there's a way to have something even more accurate, and that would prevent us from using having to cherry pick one kick before having. And on top of that, it looks like this one is happening a tiny bit too early. Not that I'm particularly confident in the freeze option of Live when it comes to phase alignment and precision. So we may try to do the same. Let's give it a try, and trying to use the resample instead, and see if that works better. So let's just so we get all here, and let's just play it. It's enough. Okay, and so now we have the resampling of the kick, and yeah, that's same. As you can see, we have a kick which seems to be starting a bit too early, though it looks a bit more similar from one shot to the other. Let's try to have a look and compare two successive ones. Oh, it's you gotta zoom in quite a lot to see them, but yeah, it seems that it's, yeah, not sure, but still this is quite annoying because Omni clip is perfectly aligned. It's been quantized, so it should be perfect, and it's triggering in the device when MIDI comes in, so it shouldn't be out of phase or happening too early. So we have to check that. So let's have a look at the list of items that I've written down here. So I already told you about this sample accuracy, which annoys me a bit, so I'm going to be working on that, but probably later on. There are a few things that I think are needed, or at least useful, on this kind of devices or plugins. Not in particular order, but this is what I've written down. So being able to load a reference kick, as is sometimes it's pretty usual to load a kick which you like, which is similar to what you want to achieve, and have it display on top of the one you're trying to synthesize, and to see how far you are from that reference one. As well, we have on the graphical display, we have this pitch and amplitude there. The thing is, if I want to superimpose the reference kick, I need to determine whether I want it to happen here or there. I don't want to do both, which wouldn't make sense. And do I need to have both these two envelopes at the same time? It's taking the device to a wider size, which might not be a good point. So maybe we have to find a way to alternate the display between the pitch and amplitude, to have not the two of them showing at the same time, which is not critical. Of course, there's something that is quite used, is to have an attack on the kick, which is usually some kind of white noise or a close hat, something like that, which is playing to improve and increase the transient of the kick. So it is something that we might want to add as another sample or another synthesis layer. As you can see as well, we have no display of what our actual kick renders apart from playing it. So we might try to find a way to generate a waveform corresponding to our kick when we are tweaking it and synthesizing it. And another point, which is this oscillator, which shows the output of the device should be synced to whatever is playing, so you have here the shape of your kick instead of having a rolling waveform as it is now. So maybe we can start by this one because it's pretty, I think it's pretty simple to handle, and it's gonna bring us quite some value in terms of being able to watch what our kick does. So how do we do that? Let's open the inspector for the live.scope, and you see that the current mode is history. It means that we have this thing rolling and showing us, and so older samples get pushed to the left while new samples are added to the right. And it's not exactly what we want to do here, so we want to switch to trigger mode, where we will, sorry, I did the wrong one, to trigger mode when a trigger will start the waveform and it's going to be filled there and will stop then. So how do we do that? If I open LiveScope documentation mode, so on trigger mode, we just capture and display the last n samples. So the samples here for by default 44,000, and the trigger mode is used using the right inlet, and the right inlet has to pass through a trestle in a certain direction. So for example, I want my display to start when I'm passing the threshold, which is 0.5, and going upward, and so it's going to be taken as a signal to the oscilloscope to say, okay, I can sample now and I'm going to start. So how can we do that? Yeah. So one thing we can do is generate a click. If I use the click message, oh no, not a click, because yeah, that's a click, exactly. So we are gonna send a bang when a note is played, and as you have seen in a previous session, it will generate a 1-0 message in one sample. So now if I connect this to my right inlet and I configure my direction to be upward and with a value of 0.5, maybe that's enough because we have 0 then 1, so it should be passing through 0.5. We'll see if it works. And now if I trigger my kick, let's try to do it like directly. Now you see that we have one exact waveform which is displayed. However, you see that it's a bit large because the numbers of samples it stacks up, that stack inside of it is a fixed one. I want to cover the exact length of my sample, so I'm gonna need to change that value whenever I change the length of the kick. So how will I do that? There is this interesting object which is translate, which allows us to translate anything time-wise to something else. So what we want to do now is convert milliseconds, because my kick duration is in milliseconds, into samples. So it's gonna input the milliseconds and output a samples number. So I connect this here, and now I need to send the right message to my oscilloscope to make sure it's gonna update the samples value. So I'm gonna use this, add a message, and the message will be samples, and we'll use $1 to use the incoming value and send it out with the proper message. So if I now open this inspector and change this, you see that my samples value to the right is following the length I've given to my kick. Of course, here we are not retriggering anything, so it's just scaling whatever is already inside the oscilloscope. But if I trigger another kick, I have a perfect length of my kick. If I change it, it's always the right value which I get. So this is something that interests me and that I usually will want to display somehow when tweaking my kick. So for now, I'm gonna add this one to my presentation. Tweak it a bit. I'm gonna remove the background. And the waveform will be my usual yellow, like so. And now I'm gonna put it to the right of my envelopes. And as you see, I'm starting to have a device which is a bit too wide. I can rescale my background picture and change the device width, which I can do set device width and take it from here. Let's save it. As you can see, it seems that my phase retrigger doesn't work actually, because each kick has a different starting point, or at least it seems. So we may have a look at what we actually are doing here, and maybe something's wrong with that. Though I'm not sure what exactly is happening. Yeah, we'll think about that maybe later. It's not maybe it's not the right time to do this. But we have now at least a proper display of our kick. All right. So this is really too wide, too large, and I really want to have those three things on top of each other, maybe not showing all of them at the same time, because it would be quite a mess, but at least not being on a different shape. So let's see what we can do. We are going to need to pack things differently, because when I want to edit the pitch envelope, these are the objects that I want to see on my screen. So we have the function, we have the length of our kick, and we have the coordinate on which I am, and we have the output value. And all these should be shown at the same time. So there are ways to hide and show things, but it's usually quite a mess, and as you can see, we already have quite a lot of wires here. So we're going to start encapsulating things, which means that we're going to merge some of the objects into just one bigger one, which will abstract their complexity. And we have, for doing so, we have two things. We have the patcher, which actually creates a subset with some instructions, but the issue with the patcher is that it has no graphical interface. So it's okay if I want to combine all this stuff, then it's not a problem. But if I want to have some visual elements, the patcher will not do. So I'm going to use the bpatcher instead. Embed the patcher. And there are two things that I have to do once I've created this. First thing is to embed the patcher in the device. I don't want to use an external file. It's possible to use an external file as a patcher, but I don't want to do that, which is the first thing. And I want to add this patcher to my presentation because it's going to be displayed. Now I can open the patcher. So if I right click and I do open new view of this embedded patcher, but there is a shortcut for that. So it's going to be Alt Command Shift O, which probably change into Alt Control Shift and O under Windows. And here I have my patcher. I'm going to do the same kind of thing I've done on my main device. So right-clicking anywhere, open the inspector, and ask Maxforlive to open this patcher on presentation mode, because I want again to see the graphical interface and not the wires. So as you see, it's not working because there is some KVAT in Maxforlive which prevents it from working. So we have to close it and open it again for this presentation mode to be taken into account. Don't know if it's a bug or whatever, but now it should be working. And now what I want to do is put some of these things inside that patcher. So let's see what we need. So we need definitely this, if I want to do a patcher with the pitch envelope. So we got all these things. We got that pitch, the comment. Well, let's put it all together. We got the pitch, the comment. What else? I think that anything which is coming from the outside, like we have this minimum and maximum numbers, which should be parameters to my patcher, because my patcher, master patcher, can have inputs and outputs, and the domain as well. So we gonna use probably all this and put them inside the patcher. And now it's a bit annoying because I need to reconnect things. So I'm copying that, opening my subpatcher, copying the elements. Oh, sorry, I did that on the presentation mode. So I'm going to edit. I'm going back to edit mode. Okay, and now all these things should be coming from the outside world. So we have this. We have instead of using cables, we have to use inlets. So inlet. We're gonna create a connector here that can be used to send something to the patcher. So the first inlet will be the domain inlet. We will need the inlet 2 and 3 to send the minimum and maximum pitch values. And I think that's all we need. But on the outside world, we're gonna need as well to be able to output at least one thing. We have this curve, which is the only thing which goes out of our pitch envelope. So we're gonna need one output, so outlet, and this one will be connected to the second inlet and second outlet of my function. And now I can replace, so I need to reconnect anything from here to there. So this one goes there. These two, there's something convenient in Maxforlive. So if I take these two cables, I can grab them at the same time, and they will glue automatically where I put them, which is a bit more convenient. And we have set the domain as well, which will be sent. We need to be cautious because we have many cables going out of this thing. Let's check that we are not doing a mess. Okay, set domain. So we taking from here and going to there. So now we have our pitch envelope, which is contained here. Let's try to see both at the same time. To make sure that we are not missing anything. So this pack has been copied, the set range as well, the set domain, well, this one has been sent, so I can remove that cable. This loop is useless. This unpack and messages are useless. The pitch is useless. And we have one cable here as well, which is which has to be connected directly to our function. So we probably need another inlet, which will go from here to here, and which will be the trigger to send the output values. I think we're good. So now this is the kind of resulting interface. Of course, we haven't set it up properly, so I'm gonna switch the sub-patcher in presentation and put it here, making sure that we are exactly on the top corner. That's it. And now this thing which is added to presentation should be put, for the time being, where our pitch envelope was, and like so. And I need to set its size in presentation mode, like this. Hopefully we haven't forgotten anything. So let's save and try if it works still. Something seems to sound wrong. This is good, but we shouldn't have that high-pitched value, which is nice, but it doesn't work. So let's. I'm gonna turn the volume down and play it as we are looking to it. So we got the bang here, we got the lens there. Let's open the sub-patcher. Oh yeah, this is not triggered. Yeah. Let's check if we have, yeah, we have bangs here, we have the domain there, min pitch and max pitch, which is sent as a set range. And we have no data coming from here, that's normal. Let's see, yeah, we have data, okay. Debugging, and the out message is the list of curves, which seem to be what we actually want, because we have the curve message from there. So I think now we're good. I can stop the transport. And now we're going to do something which will help us later on to address this thing if we want to hide it. So we're going to change the scripting name, and we're going to use that special thing which is -- and pitch envelope. And it's a bit, it's a very important thing, but it's a bit abstract. Here I'm naming the sub-patcher, so I'm giving a name that I can use later on. But the triple dash, which is in front of it, means tells Max that each copy of this device that I can have in my project will not have the exact same name. So the first 3 points will be changed into something unique. If I don't do that, if I have, say, 3 instances of my Kick device in my project and I'm trying to send things to this pitch envelope, all my pitch envelope will receive the same message at the same time, wherever they are in terms of the project. And this is not what I want to. I want to talk only to the pitch envelope of this instance of the device. It's a key point if you want to do Maxforlive development. So this is for the pitch envelope, and we're gonna do that as well for the amplitude envelope. So again, let's remove that. Yeah, there's a way to do it a tiny bit simpler. So I'm gonna take all the objects which I want. So get this one, all which is so not the curve, but this and there and that. I think this is, we have the amplitude here, and I think we have everything which corresponds to our amplitude. And I'm gonna do encapsulate, so I'm gonna encapsulate all these things in the same in just one big box. But as you see, it has created that object which is P, and P means patcher, so it's an object without an interface. But it's simpler for us because now I can just do bpatcher, add it to the presentation. Again, embed it inside the project. Open it, unlock it, open the inspector, and which is there, which is there, and open it in presentation mode. Save, close, and open again. And now we should be good. And now instead of having to reconnect whatever, I'm gonna open that patcher instance, which already has the inlaid inputs and outputs, and I'm gonna copy all these directly in my bpatcher instance. Again, not to do in presentation mode. So there we go. And now we have a bpatcher which has the exact same inputs and outputs as this patcher. So I just only need to take them and transfer them to their proper destination. And now I should be able to remove this patcher because it's a duplicate. Open that, switch to display value to presentation mode, and put it exactly on top left. Yep. Good. So this thing is on my presentation, and I can put it wherever I want. So again, I'm going to put this for the time being because I want to make sure that it's working okay. Save it. And see what it does when playing. Seems to be working fine. Good. So we have these two interfaces now. I'm gonna just tweak them here because this way I see everything, even though we are not in presentation mode. Okay, good. So now what I want to do is being able to show whether the pitch or the amplitude, but not both at the same time. So I'm gonna figure out what's the best position to place them. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna position this one. Should be something like so if you see here the presentation rectangle, so it's telling me it's based on 109, 280, 170, which is the total size and this place. So that's the position I want for all of them. And I'm gonna need to be able to put the right envelope, the right function at that place. I used to work with hiding and showing stuff, but now I'm just playing with moving things around. First, we have to make sure that our amp envelope has a name as well. So it doesn't have a name, so it's going to be amp envelope with that triple dash amp envelope. Actually, that should be function, but you get me. And I'm gonna need a switch, something to select what I want to display. And for that, it's gonna be using the live.tab, which you probably know. And on this one, it allows us to choose something, an element, and based on what I'm clicking, it's gonna output. Just let's look at it. It's going to output 1, 0, 1 or 2 depending on what item is chosen. So I only want 2 possibilities for now. So that's going to be pitch and amp. So you see I only have these two functions. I'm going to change a bit the layout. Using the yellow. Not for the background, but much more for the text color on inactive. So that's going to be white. So inactive is this text, and on is going to be using yellow. But the gray, the orange is not what I want. So the background color active will be gray as well. Need to put something which is visible enough to make sure that what is selected. So maybe this one should be a bit darker. So this one is not changing anything. Oh. Yeah, like so. And now I'm gonna use something which is already a bit advanced, because I'm gonna send messages to the object which is named dispatcher, and the text says that it's sending message to a patcher. So at first point it doesn't seem really interesting, but using this object allows us to trigger various things on a patcher. So the main patcher is the actual device. And if you have a look at scripting, we can set values from the distance. That's not the one I'm looking for. Scripting. That's exactly it. Here. No problem. Yeah, sandbox. Okay. So sorry. So that's what I'm looking for. I think I closed the wrong one. So what I want to do is using a script. So I'm gonna create a message which will be sent to a box. Let's open again our help, which I unfortunately closed. Sandbox. Yeah. Total here is the name of the box, and this is the parameter I want to change, and this is the value I want to put. So if I'm sending a message to typically pitch envelope, and what I want to change is presentation underscore rectangle, which is this parameter here, presentation rect, so that's not rectangle. And then depending on whether I want to display the pitch or the amp, my pitch envelope will have a different place. So let's brute for that. So cell I'm gonna select 0 and 1 depending on the value of this menu. So 0 means that I want to actually see the pitch envelope. So the presentation rectangle I'm gonna send will be, okay, I think that's the pitch, yeah, will be this value. So that's the set of values that we have here. But when I want to show the amp envelope, instead I want to push that aside. So for example, I'm going to put it at 200 height. And to finish that, I need to connect these two messages to the dispatcher object. So it's going to find the object which name is pitch envelope and will set the presentation rectangle to the value I'm setting. Let's give it a try. So I have this. So pitch is selected, so I'm here. If I select amp, then you see that my pitch moves and gets out of the way. So of course we need to do the opposite for the amp envelope. So we're gonna need two sandbox as well, but they're gonna be, so I'm gonna address the amp envelope. And it's gonna be like so. So when the pitch is selected, then my amp should be hidden. And when the amp should be shown, I'm gonna send this one. So normally, we have now made a simple way to detect which one we want to send. No, hey, not it. So when I'm sending, hold on a sec. So let's widen this one. So when I'm having 0, I'm sending pitch envelope to be in the middle, and no, amp envelope to be out of there. And in this case, that's gonna be 0. All right, should be okay now. So at any moment, I have only one of the values sent. Next, now that I have this thing, I can put my scope on top of it. Oh, sorry. So that I can see my actual kick when I'm dialing my envelope. I need to show it nicely. So first the color, I will change it because it's on the top of the rest. Let's say I'm gonna use green for the oscilloscope, and as well it's gonna be slightly dimmed, so it's gonna be not 100% opacity. And finally, I want to make sure that when I try to click here, I'm not clicking on the oscilloscope, which it's unneeded, so I'm gonna ignore the clicks. So now I have my two envelopes changing, and when I move, I actually edit the envelope on which I'm working on. So now I can put this at a better place. For example, like so. It's automatically switch to vertical mode. And now I can grab this and diminish the size of my device for the time being. We probably will need to add more things, but for now it's okay. So now we have something which is a bit more compact and that is able to display the actual kick as we are tweaking it. So let's give it a try. Yeah, I may want to align that bit better. As you see, let's make it play and tweak that. My oscilloscope should be a tiny bit more. Let's check which one is selected. No, I'm on the bpatcher now. So what I want to select is the scope. and it should be something like, yeah, line there, to make sure we're just right at the beginning. It's looking a bit better now, I think.